everyone. Welcome to those who haven't been here before. Welcome back to those who have watched before. Thanks for coming again. My name is Aaliyah Langley, and the 2026 Oscars were last night. Some of you might have caught my live stream. I decided kind of like a couple hours before the Oscars, why not try to do my first ever live stream after the Oscars, talk a little bit. So if you did catch that, thanks so much for coming back and watching this now. I want to talk about the Oscars and see how I did on my predictions and things like that, how the overall show went, and all those fun things. Again, you might have already caught a little bit of this if you happen to see my live stream, but let's get into it. So first I want to go over kind of like the broadcast elements of it and like not the awards piece. Conan O'Brien was our host again. I thought he did a good job. The Oscar started out with him dressed as Amy Madigan in weapons, and those kids, actually some of the kids who were chasing Amy Madigan in weapons were chasing him. I recognized them right away. So he was kind of running around and running through movie sets. He went through F1, through Marty Supreme, through Hamnet, which was really funny, Sinners, and he had a nice little Norwegian exchange with Stellan Skarsgård character in Sentiment of Value. Very funny kind of bit to open the show, and then he came out, did his monologue, did a couple jokes, that kind of thing, and it was fine. We also had a lot of the lead up. We knew that we were going to have like a very big in memoriam section. We had a lot of like heavy hitter people pass away this year. Diane Keaton, Catherine O'Hara, Robert Duvall, Rob Reiner, the list goes on and on, Robert Redford. So we had these, it was like a 10-minute in memoriam section, kind of like in the middle of the show, and it was really beautiful. Billy Crystal came out first, was kind of talking about his work with Rob and Michelle and like their excellent work and what they had been able to do in their lives. And then a bunch of people who had worked with each of them came out and they were all holding hands and looking at a picture of the two of them. It was just a very beautiful, moving moment. Then Rachel McAdams comes out and talks about Diane Keaton. And at first I was kind of like, how did Rachel McAdams get this? And I thought about later, oh yeah, the Family Stone. And that was a beautiful moment. She also highlighted Catherine O'Hara a bit as well. And then Barbara Streisand came out and gave a in memoriam moment for Robert Redford. She also sang The Way We Were, which was beautiful, a bit of it. And it was just like a wonderful, moving piece. They also had like in between the moments, you know, the slideshow playing of some of the people we lost. It was just a really wonderful moment. I think it was, again, some really heavy hitters passed away this past year. So it was a very nice moment that they did and be able to focus on that. Yeah, overall, the broadcast, I predicted maybe it would go 4 hours. It went just under. It started at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we ended the Oscars at like 10:41. They had some times where they were cutting the mics very harshly. We'll talk about later on a winner, one of the K-pop Demon Hunters winners, cut the mic very harshly, and then the presenter started like speaking, and they like were going to commercial, and that was quite a harsh one. And they had some other moments too that were really kind of just like, oh yikes. I feel like I have two minds about this. Yes, I understand that they have to keep up the show, and sometimes it's like, all right, like some people like Adrian Brody last year who was going for like 7 minutes. Like now that's the thing where you play the music then, like come on. But also there are times where, you know, there's multiple people who win in some of these categories, and like, yeah, they each want to have a moment to speak if they can, and they each have things they want to say. It is hard to kind of like have that balance of, okay, we have a show to stick with, then also like letting people like go up there for a very long time and speak. Especially some of those like below the line categories, as some people call them, like the ones that, you know, the people, I like seeing every category. I'm glad that no categories are cut from the broadcast, but you know, it's a reality that more people want to hear from like the actors or the directors, the people that they know, rather than like sometimes people that they don't know and they haven't seen any of the films or whatever. But yeah, so there's kind of a mix of that from the night, people talking about that a little bit. Obviously, they're going to give more rope to some of those people, like I mentioned, actors, directors, etc. And then some others, they're going to get cut off. And we definitely did see some of that last night. But enough with everything. Let's just start talking about my predictions. I did my predictions video and set my predictions in stone last Saturday, so like 8 days before the Oscars. I filmed that video, posted it just after midnight, and had it up. And I felt very good about a lot of them. I said in my predictions video, I was confident on like half of them, 12 of the 24 awards. And the rest of them, I was like, feeling kind of good, but like you still, like it's very up in the air. Obviously, we have a lot of things going on, but the two like kind of big contenders, the most nominated films of last night, were One Bad After Another and Sinners. Sinners with 16, which broke the nominations record, and then One Bad After Another with 13. Oscar nominations. So those two we knew were going to be around a lot, but there's still like all these other places, like how do each of those fit? How do like Frankenstein slide in here on some of these categories? You know, all these kind of things. And that's kind of where, for I think a lot of people, we're kind of like teetering on what's going to happen. But it also made things very exciting because it was like you don't have like a big steamroller kind of running through kind of on one bit after another in terms of like the top prizes at a lot of these award ceremonies so far. But there was, you know, there's a lot of like in between and what's going to happen. And so it's very exciting in the lead up, and I was very looking forward to it. We had a great night. All right, so let's, enough of the kind of intro. I think I've talked about that enough. But let's get with our first award of the night. No surprise, usually the first award of the night is always supporting actress. We had Zoe Saldana, who won last year, came out to do the presentation. My prediction, I talked about my mic there. My prediction for this was Teyana Taylor from One Battle After Another. I predicted her a couple weeks ago for the SAG Awards, even after Amy Madigan from Weapons won. And I said in my predictions video, like, Amy Madigan, I feel like she has, in the supporting actress category, you know, it was really between Teyana, Amy, and Wunmi. And I didn't want Amy Madigan to win. I haven't wanted her to win really much of anything. I think she was great in Weapons. She scared the hell out of me, as I've said before. But I didn't think she was like the Oscar winner or the SAG winner. You know, those things. I'm like, really? But wouldn't be surprised if she got the win. So she kind of was like in there definitely, and she did win. Teyana Taylor didn't. I really would have wished it could have gone to either Teyana Taylor for OBA or Wunmi. I feel like they were just remarkable, and also again with the whole kind of like the film bringing it up, maybe try to push them over a little bit, which is why I stuck with Teyana, because I felt like maybe, you know, the success of the film and everything like that, people were going to be voting for that, so they could maybe, you know, push her in there. Same goes for Wunmi. But I went to Amy Madigan's Weapons. She was Weapons' only nominee that night. We've had that now and then where we've had a win for an actor who's been the only nominee from the film. And yeah, that's how the night started. She gave kind of an alright speech, and I'm not upset about it, but it's just like, man, it should have gone somewhere else. But yeah, our next up Oscar pick. Also, I want to say too, I kind of have, I'll even go into it. Whatever. Our next subcategory is animated feature. Pretty much everybody picked K-pop Demon Hunters to win. That is exactly what happened. No surprise there. That's what happened, and we move on. Animated short film. Now, I picked The Girl Who Cried Pearls as my prediction, but in the couple of days in the lead up, I saw some people talking about maybe it going to Butterfly. And I hadn't seen Butterfly, but it's about the swimmer who escaped the Holocaust basically and like was swimming. And it was like a, you know, hand drawn, I believe, animation. Whereas The Girl Who Cried Pearls is stop motion. I stuck with The Girl Who Cried Pearls because of like, I feel like the Academy, the people in this branch like the stop motion, or I've seen that awarded a couple times, you know, at least. So I was thinking like, it's probably going to go here. And also it had been winning several things in the lead up, and it ended up still going to The Girl Who Cried Pearl. So happy I stuck with my guns. I mean, I didn't change anything. We'll talk about people trying to get in your head and change things later. But that's what happened, and I'm happy I stuck with it. Costume design went to Kate Hawley, Frankenstein. No surprise here. This is what I picked as well. This was my prediction. I had said we're going to go over just a moment, like all the kind of design categories outside of sound are going to go to Frankenstein, those kind of like artistic type things, costume, makeup, production design. They went to Frankenstein, good speech. Everyone up there on the Frankenstein stage who came up, you know, they all were very thankful to Guillermo del Toro, the director of Frankenstein, and absolutely deserved there. Obviously, you want to keep Ruth Carter in the mix, the great Ruth Carter from Sinners. I feel like the Oscars never gives out, you know, the like tally of the votes, but you know, you never sleep on Ruth Carter. She's definitely a 2-time Oscar winner for a reason. But yeah, I went to Frankenstein, and that was fine. Makeup and hairstyling, I also picked Frankenstein here, similar to the last category. I went to Frankenstein as well. I mean, we saw what they did to Jacob Elordi. Obviously, some people talked about as well, I saw on the broadcast yesterday, like how Sinners not in the conversation more. Obviously, Sinners had to do a lot with the vampire makeup and some of the kind of transformation of some of these people. But I think it was always going to go to Frankenstein. They had been winning a lot of things for a while. No surprise there. So our first awards, while I was writing it down on my spreadsheet as we were, or on my Word document, basically as we were going through, like every 5 awards, checking in to see where I was. So at this point, we've gone through 5 awards. I've gotten 4 out of 5 right. I kind of put, it doesn't really count, but like 4.5, you could say, if I say Amy Madigan, like I kind of did pick that. I just didn't want to because I don't think she I didn't want her to win. But yeah. But the sixth Oscar they gave out was a very big shock to me of who ended up winning. So it was the casting, our very first ever casting Oscar. Very great to have casting Oscar finally being given out. Wonderful. I and everybody picked Francine Maisler, who cast Sinners. She is a longtime casting director. Sinners obviously has done exceptionally well. They not saying that this award, but they just won SAG Ensemble. Sinners, everybody I know picked Sinners. But it went to Cassandra Koulakounis from One Bad After Another. She's a longtime casting director with Paul Thomas Anderson. She gave a nice little joke up there as well. She was like, I can't believe I actually got one before you. His awards weren't announced yet. So she was like, I hope you get one later tonight. And he definitely did. But I remember seeing that. I remember being like, I tweeted, I was like, what? Because I was just like, that was the one I was confident on. And many people were like, this is going to Francine Maisler Sinners, absolutely. So I was very, I was surprised. It's not like she doesn't deserve One Bad After Another. They obviously cast a lot of great people, a lot of first-time actors. Chase Infinity is such a find, excellent there. But I did not expect that at all. So it was kind of surprising. And when that happened in the night too, I was thinking what does this mean for the rest of the show? What else is coming? And they gave the casting Oscar to One Bad After Another. What does this mean for the things down the line and how a Sinner's gonna fare? So I was getting a little bit shaky. I saw some people as well. I was live tweeting the whole night and things like that. People kind of being like, wait, what? Again, kind of thinking like me, what does this mean and what's going to happen next? But that's what happened. Live action short was our next category. Now, I talked about this before. Live action short has consistently been one of the really great categories. I feel like that's slept on at the Oscars every year. I really encourage people to watch some of the live action short films from this year, from previous years, winners, nominees, whatever. It's very good. And I watched all the live action shorts nominated this year. I picked Two People Exchanging Saliva. Many people picked that as well. And surprise, surprise, we had an Oscars tie. Our first time having an Oscars tie in 13 years. The last one had been for sound editing, went to Skyfall and Zero Dark 30 in 2013. There's only been a tie in the Oscars 6 times before last night. Now there's been 7. Interestingly enough, live action short actually has had a tie before. They had it some years ago, and they had another tie last night. So it was kind of interesting. They don't know who wins in the back seemingly, but Kumail Nanjiani was the one announcing the award, and he handled it very well. He was like, "There's a tie, so what I'm gonna do is read this one. They'll speak, and I'll come back and they'll speak again." So it was he almost maybe knew there was a tie, maybe he didn't know who. I don't know, but. The tie went to the singers, and then also Two People Exchanging Saliva. So I didn't pick the singers. I picked two people exchanging saliva. So I count that as right. And yeah, so interesting. There's a tie there. Kind of a fun little thing of the night. Again, there's only been 7 in the history of the Oscars. All the Oscars they've given away. Very interesting, fun kind of thing. Oh wow. All right. Next up, we have supporting actor. Kieran Culkin came out to present it. I picked Sean Penn, One Bad After Another. He's been winning a lot of things. He hasn't gone to any award shows apart from Globes. I don't even remember if he was at Critics. I don't think he was at Critics. But Sean Penn did end up winning. Again, like I said, he wasn't there. Kieran Culkin said Sean Penn couldn't be here tonight or just didn't want to. So I'll accept this on his behalf. And it was kind of funny because it was he was I'm going to just take this job. He definitely could have been here. He just didn't want to be here. I'm not upset about this one, I guess. It's not like he wasn't excellent in One Bad After Another. He absolutely was as Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw. But this was one that I would have really liked to see this go to Stellan Skarsgård, Sentimental Value. I would have really, really liked to see this go to Delroy Lindo for Sinners. I was happy that he even got nominated but I really would have liked if he could have won this one. But it went to Sean Penn. It's his 3rd Oscar now. He has 2 for Best Actor. This is his first supporting actor win. And yeah, so that was kind of a quick mumble of the night. Live action short was one of those categories that got cut off a bit. And it was Kumail Nanjiani kind of joked, it's funny that live action short is taking the longest, is a short, but it's taking a very long time. So it kind of worked out in a sense because it was Kieran Culkin was coming up and you can tell he walked out quickly, but then there was no one to actually speak because Sean Penn wasn't there. But yeah, we move on. Another prediction correct. Adapted screenplay. Paul Thomas Anderson, one by after another, is what I picked, what most everyone picked. Paul Thomas Anderson got his first Oscar last night, gave a nice speech. No surprise there. I don't think anyone was really thinking of anything else having a chance to win. He'd been winning all over the place. Same for original screenplay. I picked Ryan Coogler, Sinners, and he won. Excellent. Excellent. His first Oscar as well. So it was nice to have these two men up there. His first Oscar. Paul Thomas Anderson has had 14 nominations and hasn't won. He had 3 this year, but 11 before then, had never won. Ryan Coogler has 5 total, had 3 this year and hadn't won his previous 2. But the previous 2 he had were like Best Picture as a producer for Judas and the Black Messiah, and then like a co-writer on the song Lift Me Up by Rihanna. So each of them got an Oscar last night, which is great. You know, they had it back to back. Paul Thomas Anderson first with Adapted, and then Ryan Coogler original. Great speeches from each of them, and lovely moment. And yeah, we made it through our first 10 awards. I have 8 out of 10 correct, or if you want to do 8.5, if you want to count Amy Madigan, but I know we're not really counting that. That's where we're at. Now we have production design, another one of these design categories. Went to Frankenstein. There you go. I picked that, and I don't think anyone was surprised at that. I did think a little bit like Jack Fisk, Marty Supreme could be in there potentially, because obviously he's, you know, a long-time production designer, very well respected in the industry, maybe. But same for Hannah Beachler, previous Oscar winner, did Sinners, but it was going to Frankenstein, and I think many people knew that. But you keep those names in the mix, but that's where it was going. Same for visual effects. I picked Avatar: Fire and Ash. They won for visual effects. I think they've won visual effects for every movie. I mean, how can they not win visual effects? It's Avatar. It's Avatar. I mean, you never know if people like are getting tired of the Avatar movies, but if you think about like the level of visual effects happening in that movie versus other ones, like it goes to Avatar. So no surprise there. All right, documentary short. We had All the Empty Rooms was the winner. That was also my prediction. That movie, I think I talked about it in my predictions video. That movie had me tearing up the other day. It's on Netflix. I really recommend people watching. It's a film about the empty rooms of school shooting victims, going to these families' homes who have left their children's rooms basically as they were when they last were home before school that day, like a normal day. And it's a beautiful, beautiful film. Like I said, it's on Netflix. I really recommend you watching it. And they won documentary short. They had one of the mothers, her daughter Jackie, was featured in the documentary short, and also, she was a victim of the Uvalde shooting. She was 9 years old, and she spoke briefly about, I think, be important if people can see people's rooms and maybe could change America. And it's just a wonderful film. Obviously very hard to watch, but a wonderful film, very deserving winner. Very happy for them. There were a lot of good, actually, nominees in this category. I've mentioned, too, The Devil is Busy, who's Geeta, I forget her last name, but Geeta, she also was nominated for documentary feature. That's the one I'd recommend you watching as well. That's on HBO Max, I believe, but great stuff in there. All right, documentary feature. So I was very confident this was going to go to The Perfect Neighbor. Geeta, who I just mentioned, is a nominee here as well. This was going to go to Perfect Neighbor. I picked this. A lot of people picked this. This is on Netflix. This is a very, But I'm pretty sure I also said when I did my predictions video, the documentary branch sometimes is a little bit weird. So you never know like what's going to happen. And I literally said right before, like out loud, right before they announced the winner, I said, this is going to go to Perfect Neighbor, but Mission Nobody Against Putin could get it as well. And then literally they announced Mission Nobody Against Putin. And the way it was kind of interesting, the Perfect Neighbor team was like sat here. The Mission Nobody Against Putin team was sat right behind them. So it was like the camera was on them, and it was like, oh, hey, like seeing their reactions, like disappointment, and then going, to the Mission Nobody Against Putin team. And, again, Geeta had just lost 2 in a row. She just lost documentary short and then also documentary feature, which I think she probably would have thought, and as many people did, that Perfect Neighbor would have got documentary feature. But yeah, this is, that's what happened. I haven't seen Mission Nobody Against Putin. I've heard some mixed things about it. Like I said, the documentarian branch sometimes is a little bit quirky, I've heard. Another one I need to watch that I wanted to watch is called The Alabama Solution. I was also nominated tonight. That's on HBO Max. But they went up, gave a speech, very, focused on like the times right now, obviously in Russia, but also things that are happening in the United States. So that was a complete X for me. I got that one wrong completely. But yeah. All right, original score. This one was a lock a while ago. Went to the great Ludwig Göransson, Sinners, his third Oscar win. He has 3 Oscar wins now for Black Panther original score, Oppenheimer original score, and Sinners original score. Now, I don't want to say this too early. People have been saying already, like, oh, he's coming next year for his 4th one for the Odyssey with Nolan. I don't want to say that too early, like, because I feel like that's just, like, we don't know what's going to come out. What else could be exceptional? Let's just relax. But, you know, what is he, 41 years old? He has 3 Oscars already, more than Hans Zimmer now. I don't know if he's has the most Oscar wins as someone who does scores, but like Ludwig Göransson is exceptional. He's just like remarkable and a really, really great composer and just excellent musician, just all the great things, made it through the first 15 awards. I'm at 12 out of 15 predictions, technically 12.5 out of 15, but really 12 out of 15 is where I'm at. Next up, sound design went to F1 and sound editing. They put them together, so just best sound is what it is, really. Went to F1, vroom vroom, no surprise. Everyone knew this was going to go here, really. Not surprised at that, and that's fine, we move on. Editing went to One Bad After Another, Andy Jurgensen. I picked that, many people picked that as well, no surprise there. Good for them. Now, cinematography. I want to talk about cinematography. I picked Autumn Gerald Aukerpah, Sinners. She is the fourth woman to be nominated for cinematography, first woman of color to be nominated for cinematography. She's Filipino and Black. Obviously, One Bad After Another, Michael Bauman has been winning cinematography categories like everywhere up until even just like this past week. The cinematography, like their guild, their group, he won that top prize at their award show just recently. I remember I saw that. I had already posted my predictions, and it was kind of like, well, that's it, folks. He's going to be winning cinematography. And I allowed people to get into my head and say, oh, Aaliyah, why did you pick Autumn? He's going to go to Michael. Autumn's not going to win. But I was like, no, I feel something about Autumn. And even in my predictions video, I kind of forgot to even mention Michael Bauman's cinematography. I talked about Autumn, and then I also talked about Adolfo Veloso from Train Dreams. And I was like, I thought about later, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even mention Michael Bauman from One Bad After Another. Like, he definitely is in there. But I was like, no, I'm picking Autumn. I feel like Autumn's going to win this award. I just felt a confidence that she was going to win this award. I was allowing myself to get a little bit shaken. Again, I wasn't going to change any of my predictions. I did them. They're set in stone. And I was kind of thinking to myself, literally as they were announcing the category, I was like, I really want to go to Autumn. I said, Michael could win it, but I really want to go to Autumn. Let's see. And they announced Autumn as the winner, and the place erupted. It was just exceptional. This wonderful moment. She's the first woman ever to win cinematography at the Oscars. I think her win also now makes it official that all the non-gendered categories have been won by a man and a woman. Like, you know, that was like maybe the last holdout. And she has done it. She went up there. Again, I said the place erupted. It was this beautiful speech she gave. She had all the women stand up. It wasn't even like in a weird way, but it was just like a recognition for like all we've been able to do with each other to like even get us here. I always like to say and mention, but I think it's such a cool fact. Autumn Gerald Aukerpah has done now 2 pictures with Ryan Coogler. She did Sinners now, that she won an Oscar for, and then also Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But she got connected to him through Rachel Morrison. Rachel Morrison was the first ever woman nominated for cinematography, I think in 2019 for Mudbound. Rachel Morrison has worked with Coogler. She did Fruitvale. She did Black Panther. She might have done the first Creed. But she's doing directing stuff now. And I think around the time when he was about to do Wakanda Forever, either she was pregnant or she was doing directing at that point. So she connected Autumn to Ryan. And now, how cool is that? Like, the first nominee for cinematography of a woman connected the first woman winner for cinematography to Ryan Coogler. Just like an exceptional thing. Again, she gave a great speech. And I was so happy about this one because, again, this was the one where I was hearing it about, oh, this is going to go to Michael Bauman. Michael Bauman's winning this one. Autumn is out. Yeah, she did great. And everyone here in this category did great. Obviously, it's a wonderful thing. But I was just so happy to see this as a win. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And I feel like for like some of the below the line categories, cinematography is one of the most important ones. If we were to like rank them, cinematography obviously is everything. It's where the camera's pointed, how the film looks. It's a massive, massive award. It's such an important job on the picture, and so happy for it to go to Autumn, and just a wonderful, wonderful moment. One of my favorite moments of the night, honestly. Just a really great thing. And then Conan came out after, and then after the commercial, and was like, and I'm pretty sure he said like she's the first ever woman to win, so she got a whole other bit of applause, and just fantastic, wonderful, wonderful moment. All right, international feature. I picked The Secret Agent. I didn't want to go against Brazil. Brazil is strong. Brazil, you can't count Brazil out. But it went to Sentimental Value, Norway, and I'm happy with that, because I thought about it in this is one of those other categories similar to cinematography, where I was thinking like, do I stick with this? What am I thinking? Because Sentimental Value, if you think about it, who's going to be voting for these things? Like, what do you, after you watch a film, like, what is the feeling you have? So many people have said Sentimental Value is one of their favorite films of the year. And Secret Agent, is very layered. It's a very beautiful film. But Sentimental Value, even for me, is one of my favorite films of the entire year. Sorry Baby was my very top one. And if I had a number 2 film for the year, it probably would be Sentimental Value if I were to rank like 2 through 15, whatever it was. Sentimental Value probably would be my like top movie of the year, outside of Sorry Baby, which was my absolute favorite. So I was very happy. Just think about the element of like, Joachim Trier, he had been nominated before, and this is Norway. I think they said they had 7 nominations. This was their first win. So, Brazil won last year, their first ever Oscar. Obviously, we knew the category was a great category. No Other Choice should have been in this category and should have been in a lot of these places at the Oscars, but that's another conversation. Those are the two Secret Agent and Sentimental Value were the 2 international feature nominees that were in Best Picture. So you knew it was between those 2. It's like, okay, which one is going to do it? Like, okay, Secret Agent has casting nominations, but Sentimental Value has 4 acting nominations, but like Wagner Moura is still really in there to potentially win Best Actor. And like, how do you kind of weigh out the thing? So yeah, it ended up going to Sentimental Value. Happy that they didn't leave empty-handed, but in turn, maybe a spoiler here, but Secret Agent did end up leaving empty-handed, as a couple other pictures did as well. But yeah, that's how it turned out. So very happy with that win. Give a nice speech. The whole team went up there, and lovely. Song. So this song category this year was weird. There were some weird nominees in there. They only had 2 people sing. Usually they have every nominee sing, but they only had 2 sing. We had Golden, K-pop Demon Hunters sing, and then also I Lied to You from Sinners with they basically recreated the whole scene from the movie in the juke joint, where it was like all these kind of like past and present music and dances, and just a beautiful. I was kind of surprised that they even pulled it off as well as they did, because I feel like it's such a complicated piece to do, but they did a really great job. It was a really beautiful thing. It was early into the show, like within the first half an hour or so they did it. They had a lot of guests come on, people who were other musicians. Misty Copeland came on, who was doing ballet. That's the thing too, I want to say, they had ballerinas in the movie, and obviously this thing was set up long before the Timothée Chalamet controversy. So it had nothing to do with like, oh yeah, we're going to put this ballerina in the front because like Timothée Chalamet said. No, it's Misty Copeland. She was signed on to do this for some time. Like, it has nothing to do with that. Like, let's relax there. I think some people also as well didn't even realize it was Misty Copeland, because, the camera's only so close. A lot of people knew that she was going to be there because it had been announced before. But yeah, a wonderful moment. I think everyone really enjoyed it. People were up on their feet and really enjoying it and loving it. And then K-pop Demon Hunters Golden, they went towards the end of the broadcast. They just like shortly before the song category actually was announced. I thought they would have gone much earlier, because I feel like they were probably trying to hold the viewership to get them to stay to watch Golden, but I also thought they would want maybe Golden to be like one of the early things, but maybe they were worried about people dropping out. Apparently it was a shortened version of Golden, because I literally tweeted, I said, is that it? Like, is there a second verse? Like, it was like, they started and the next it was over. I was like, is that it for the song? Like, what's going on? Why didn't they do more? But whatever. And they came out and then they won the Oscar. No surprise there. I think a lot of people picked them up to win. I, of course, would have really liked it to go to I Lied to You from Sinners, but yeah, I mean, this is how it was, and yeah, that's fine. Moving on. So of the 20 nominees we've gone through so far, I have 16 out of 20. I got 4 wrong, and 2 I got like halfway right, so like 17 out of 20, but really 16 out of 20. But that was my last. I hadn't got anything else wrong after this on this last four. And the last four were really, really great. So the first of the four was director. This went to Paul Thomas Anderson, One Bad After Another. That's what I predicted. And that's what it went to. No surprise there. Gave a nice speech. Once again, mentioned his first AD, Adam Sumner, who was recently passed from cancer. Great speech. He kind of gave a little joke too, saying like, to my fellow classmates, and he listed the fellow nominees. He's like, there might be some doubt about whether you deserve it, but there's no question in the pleasure of having it for myself. And I kind of like laughing a little bit and whatnot. Very deserving. Ryan Coogler definitely was in the mix. I'd be so interested to know like how close some of these votes are. But, Paul had been winning, DGA, which is usually really close with what happens at the Oscars, and then also all the other awards in the lead up. So happy for him. No surprise there. Good moment. Actor. Now this was one of the ones that I and a lot of people were up in the air about like what's going to happen. There's so many possibilities here. I picked Michael B. Jordan, Sinners, to win Best Actor, and Michael B. Jordan, Sinners, did in fact win Best Actor. Adrian Brody came out, gave a little bit on his like long speech from last year, came out, gave the award to Michael, and it was a wonderful moment. Again, similar to Autumn's win, the room erupted and people were so happy to see him win. He gave a lovely speech, very heartfelt, similar to how he did at SAG, in terms of like just the genuineness and just like seeing what a great guy he is and wants to keep pushing and doing better. He gave shout outs to he is now the sixth person or seventh person black person to win a leading actor Oscar. He listed them. He said, standing behind Sidney Poitier, Forrest Whitaker, Will Smith, Jamie Foxx, Denzel Washington, 5 men, and then Halle Berry, of course. So he is the sixth man to win Best Actor, black man to win Best Actor, and he's the seventh black person at all to win a leading Oscar acting win. Halle Berry is the only black woman to win Best Actress. There's only been 2 people of color to win Best Actress, Halle Berry and then Michelle Yeoh a couple years ago. So like obviously that's excellent history. I forgot to mention Ryan Coogler winning the original screenplay. He's only the second black person to win original screenplay after Jordan Peele. So lots of history there tonight and just last night, and a wonderful win. I might have said this. I know I definitely tweeted it, but I think Timothée Chalamet was not going to win ever, to be honest, because the whole controversy with the whole ballet opera scandal happened like as Oscars voting was literally closing. The interview had been out, some people hadn't seen it potentially, but like the whole surge of like that clip going around was literally like that Thursday the Oscars voting was closing. I feel like he had lost people before then though. He had early wins at the Globes and Critics' Choice Awards. But if he didn't win last night, when the scandal people thought maybe pushed him over, broke again the last day of voting, unless people were waiting until the last hour to vote, I think he was never really going to win, because I think he had already kind of maybe turned some people off a little bit, and some people have talked about his the way he kind of was promoting this movie and whatnot. I don't know about all that, but I don't think he was going to win. Obviously, the Michael B. Jordan SAG win definitely helped surge him a bit, and some things like that in the film in general, pushing him up is definitely a bonus, and it's definitely a help. Wagner Moore was still in the mix. Some people thought the votes could be split, so maybe Leonardo DiCaprio could slide in there somewhere. Like there was some people like made these assumptions thinking Leonardo DiCaprio was the second most voted person at BAFTAs. That went to Robert Aramayo. There's all types of things that it was really in the air, but I went with Michael B. Jordan. I'm glad I went with Michael B. Jordan. So happy that he won. A wonderful thing. And with this loss for Timmy, Marty Supreme went 0 for 9 at the Oscars this year. Didn't win anything. I think he was their biggest hope, but he did not end up winning. And that's how the cookie crumbles. Next up here is Best Actress, our second to last award. I've said this for a very long time. Jessie Buckley's name was on this Oscar months ago. Mikey Madison, winner from last year for Nora, came out, presented the award. Jessie Buckley from Hamnet won, no surprise for everyone. But she gave such a beautiful speech. Such a beautiful speech. I will say, even before she goes, she was doing this a lot. Same with the girl from K-Pop Demon Hunters, like being shocked that she was winning a little bit. Or maybe not shocked, but she was like overly like come on, Justin, you knew you were winning. But she gave a beautiful, beautiful speech. It was Mother's Day yesterday in the UK, Ireland, and some other places in Europe and things like that. So she mentioned Mother's Day, and she was talking to her husband, like, you know, I want to have more babies with you and things like that. And thank you to Chloe and Maggie for this beautiful collision of understanding, you know, the capacity of a mother's love while she's just become a mother. You know, her daughter's 8 months old now. And she said, I want to dedicate this award, after she mentioned Mother's Day, I want to dedicate this award to the chaos of a mother's heart. Oh, I watched the speech back a couple times. It's just a beautiful speech. She really gives great speeches, but that in particular was just like, obviously the film is very emotional when she's playing this incandescent woman, as she said, and learning about, again, a mother's love and being able to experience now in her own life. And just a beautiful, beautiful speech, beautiful moment to kind of like, you know, second last moment of the night. Just beautiful, beautiful thing. Very happy for her. And that tore me up bad, and one of my favorites of the year. Excellent. And finally, we have Best Picture. Now this went to One Bed After Another, which is who I picked, who many of us picked. It would have been surprising to me if it didn't win, but you still had Sinners in the mix. Sinners was not going to go anywhere, but it went to One Bed After Another, and I'm happy with that. I think that's fine. I think that's right. And I'm not surprised that it would have been really great if Sinners could have won, of course. I think the room would have literally like gone on fire. People would have been like freaking out. But that's what happened. It went to One Bed After Another. So Paul Thomas Anderson got 3 Oscars. He gave in his speech something that I thought was really good to say, because I think this is obviously one of those years where we have a lot of years like this where we have these really great pictures, but this year especially, where it was kind of like, you know, we had these 2 powerhouse movies from the same studio, you know, going at it in terms of, you know, being up in people's minds of this is going to be the winner here, all these things. He said in 1975, technically 1976, like the aired 1976, but in 1975, the Best Picture nominees were One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Barry Lyndon, Dog Day Afternoon, Jaws, and Nashville. He was like, there's no best among them. It's just about what people had the taste for at the time, and, you know, whatever. And that was like basically saying like, this is maybe he didn't say it directly, but like, we've had times before where we had these movies that are so exceptional, you can't like put them up against each other in terms of picking what's best. Especially looking about that list he just read off there, you can look at that list of films and how do you pick a best movie out of that? You know, this is like, you know, a subjective thing, like he said, what's happening at the time, whatever. Which I thought was, again, a nice kind of note to end off on. Then he said, let's go party and celebrate everybody. And that's where the night ended. And it was a good night, I think. I think a lot of people wanted more for Sinners. The overall tally there was One Bed After Another ended up with 6 Oscars, 6 of the 13 nominations that they had. Sinners had 4 out of their 16, which I would have wanted more for them too, but this is what ended up happening there. Frankenstein had the next most with 3. And yeah, that's a lot of other people got like 1, you know, Hamnet got 1, Sense of the Value got 1, you know, Weapons got 1, things like that, kind of just like spinning around. And that's where the night ended. So for me, for my predictions overall, I got 20 out of 21 correct. Excuse me, 20 out of 24 correct. My predictions, which is like 83%, which is pretty good, I feel like. Technically, if you want to count the ones that kind of went halfway on, it'd be 21 out of 24. I know we don't really count those, but that'd be like 87%, but pretty good, I think, for my prediction, especially for a year where there was a lot of like up and downs. I'm not really sure where things are going to happen, but that's how the Oscars went last night. I said before too, I'm someone who, you know, in the past several years, I've watched like everything and things like that. But even before, when I wasn't watching everything, I still really enjoyed the Oscars all the time, and you know, this was no exception. And I look forward to, you know, continuing to watch these great movies that are coming out. I had just seen, I'm not sure if anyone has seen it yet, on this past weekend, Project Hail Mary. I saw that on Saturday night. That's something that's going to be at the Oscars, I know, this coming, you know, this next year. That's going to be definitely in the awards conversation. That movie was excellent. You can watch my 1-minute movie review on that if you haven't seen it. Great film with Ryan Gosling. But yeah, this was a great Oscars night. Got my predictions. I'm happy that I did so well. I kind of was like I said before, I was confident on about half of them, and we were going to see just what happened. I was just kind of throwing things at the wall and hoping they would stick, and a lot of them ended up sticking. So that's definitely great. Let me know in the comments if you had predictions that you made or like things like that. How did you do overall? Who you thought was going to win? on some of the bigger awards, tell me, did you get like the best picture pick right, the acting picks right, director, you know, those kind of things? What did you end up picking? How did you end up feeling overall, the whole vibe of the show? How many people won, you know, this or that? And what are you looking forward to, you know, coming up, the next Oscars, the next award season? But we made it through this very, very long award season, and we had a great night last night. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Feel free to, again, I live tweeted all the Oscar stuff, so you can look at my Twitter at Leah Langley to see some of the things I tweeted, some of the things I was retweeting. People were really kind of making me laugh on Twitter and things like that. You can follow me around Letterboxd, things like that, to see like what films I'm watching, all those kind of good things. But yeah, look forward to coming back and talking about some more stuff soon. We're kind of out of that heavy film season and award season, but maybe we'll keep talking about some things more. We'll see how things unfold, I guess. So again, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye.